People get to meet their spouses in places they never imagined. Some knew their spouse because they grew up together as children. Others got to meet their spouse in the place of work, in the church, in the school, and so many places. It's even gotten better with the invention of social media, and so many people got to meet their spouses on social media. The most important thing about meeting your spouse is getting to know that they are your friends and that you know their characteristics and traits. The people you move with reflect the kind of person you are. Having a good relationship with your friends helps you know their characteristics and traits. You then get to know what they want, how they think, and how they react to situations around them. Getting to be friends with your spouse before getting to be in a relationship is one of the best ways to ensure that you are in a loving and a happy relationship. This is because you get to know beforehand the type of person your spouse is. Most of the time, your spouse is someone who you never had a romantic feeling for. Most of the time, people who get to marry their friends had no romantic feelings for them. They start their relationship on a platonic level, and their feeling of love and passion develop only after they have been friends for a long time. It's usually advised to marry your best friend most of the time. The reason for this is marrying your best friend helps you know who that person is. You get to know all their characters without the bias of love blinding you. This does not mean that everyone gets the opportunity to meet their spouse at a tender age, but it means even before loving that spouse, you must try to make that person your best friend. They must be someone who you have a sure confidence. They're always there for you in times of trouble and trials. Knowing you have someone to relate your issues with even when things are not going as they ought to. They would help boost your confidence in moving issues and problems that come your way. Having your best friend with you shows you're both compatible together. Yes, fights and arguments can occur, but you have that level of understanding of solving your issues and differences. This goes a long way in considering that person to be your spouse. Since you're so comfortable being their best friend, then it would help to know that when you're married, then you have that confidence and trust in that person, knowing what he or she can do. It also helps in knowing your partner's weaknesses beforehand and knowing ways you can help them change for the better. It's usually difficult to change your spouse's nature because most of the time, you're either blinded by the love and passion you feel for that person, you turn a blind eye to their attitude and character. This is usually dangerous because at the end of the day, love and passion will decrease with time, and what would be left is a commitment and attitude needed to make the relationship stand the test of time. This is why it's advisable to marry someone you have taken enough time to study. Someone you consider a friend is someone who stands by you and someone who you both have a mutual understanding with. Sometimes a friend is closer to you than your blood and relatives. They stand for you and help you go the extra mile in doing things that even your immediate family can't do for you. Proverbs chapter 18 verse 24 says, "One who has unreliable friends soon comes to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother." When you have a friend that sticks close to you, then you have a trust in that person. The more you get to know them, the more your bond becomes closer and better, and you both have a deeper understanding of each other. One major thing about getting to know your friends is that they understand how to keep boundaries. They know their limits and where they are allowed to interfere in your life. Most of the things needed to have a good friend are what is needed to be in a loving relationship and a marriage. However, a relationship is much deeper than just friendship. A relationship entails you sharing your life with someone and being committed to making that person happy. Unlike friendship, where your level of influence is optional, relationships and marriage are far deeper. Marriage entails committing your all to the happiness of the relationship. However, for the relationship to stand the test of time, it must start with a mode of friendship. A friend is not afraid to tell you the truth. They don't need to pretend to be what they're not. They're free to be with you and would express themselves freely without fear of being criticized or snubbed. So why not take a chance of getting to be friends with your spouse and share beautiful times with them? With love and passion, most people overlook issues that should be resolved. It's common for most young couples to try everything possible to impress their spouse or love interest. They put on their best behavior and do whatever possible to impress their spouse. Most of the time, the spouses are carried away by the euphoria of this and are fooled into rushing into a relationship and a marriage. It only takes a matter of time to see the cracks in the wall and find out too late that their spouse was not who they thought them to be. Not all friends can be in a romantic relationship, but all spouses in a loving relationship must be friends, and even best friends. This is because the person is supposed to be the closest person to you in your life. The spouse would be the first person you want to talk to about your happiness, sadness, trials, and whatever you face and experience. As good as friendship is between couples, it is important that as a child of God, you should be sensitive to the leading of the Holy Spirit in getting to know and choose who your spouse is. The relationship is not a thing to be rushed into. So many factors have to be considered before going into a relationship. One factor to consider in taking a spouse is that trust. Trust is built over time, and you get to trust your spouse based on how reliable, dependable, and committed that person is to do whatever he or she says. Trust is built and earned when your spouse's character and attitude align with whatever they say and portray themselves to be. The only way you get to trust someone is by taking time to observe and know their character. This can only be done when you're friends with such a person. The more the trust you have in your spouse and vice versa, the stronger the relationship would be. Researchers have also found that those who say they've married their best friend are more likely to be happier and more satisfied with their life. Plus, being in a relationship with someone who knows the truth can be good for your health. According to Amanda Gesselman, PhD, Assistant Research Scientist at Kinsey Institute, research on couples show that one main contributor to a person's mental and physical health is how supported one feels in the relationship. Getting to meet your spouse does not necessarily mean that you have to have known him or her for a long time. However, it's important you make your spouse your best friend, whether you have known them for a long time or not. Among your friends, coworkers, acquaintances, and colleagues, your spouse might just be among them. It takes the grace of God to be able to spot and locate your spouse among your friend. Before making a decision on whom your spouse is, be it meeting someone new or be it someone who's your friend, you must ask for the direction and approval of God in knowing if that spouse is right for you. God is willing to make a way for you when you call upon Him. The most important thing in choosing a spouse is to know how willing that person is committed to you. They must be compatible with you. They encourage you and help you fulfill your goals. Marrying a spouse among your friends is not as easy as it seems. You now have to relate on a much deeper level than just friendship. It might take a little adjustment, but it will be alright as long as you and that spouse are sure of what you want in the relationship. In conclusion, you must learn to pray and seek the face of God whenever you want to choose a spouse. You might be waiting for God's direction when God is clearly showing you that your spouse has been with you for a long time. The key is to have the Holy Spirit in you, because through the power of the Holy Spirit, you would be able to discern who is right and wrong. Do not make the mistake of choosing a spouse without the guidance of the Holy Spirit. Your spouse could be among your friend, but you need patience and the guidance of God to know if that person is truly right for you.